right, and a very good morning to you if you've just joined us on this very rainy morning here in Nairobi. This is New Day. We are tackling the topics that will continue to be topics of discussion throughout this week and, of course, in the coming days ahead. But one that has gotten people wagging their tongues this morning is Moi Day is back. Yes, Moi Day was, can we use the word reinstated? No, it was Moi Day, the day that was celebrated in the previous constitution before the promulgation back in 2010, August. The new constitution scrapped it off, but now a group of some gentlemen and a few ladies went to court and they've won that case. So the question begs then, what happens to, are we going to get some compensation? I'm just making a joke out of that. Charles, we have lost 7 Moi days. We've not had any.
I tell you.
Yeah, the day was made to commemorate former President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. But now we see that the fashion in which the day will be commemorated is yet to be discussed. But the day again has been put back in your calendar. October 10th will be Moi Day. Charles, let's start with you.
Tim, I've not had an opportunity to interrogate that judgment, and therefore I lack competence in commenting on it.
But you can look at it as a Mwananchi.
As a Mwananchi. We litigate too many things, Tim. We litigate too many things. I'm not too sure what are the grounds that people went to the courts and what the court decided, why the court decided to reinstate it. But hey, one more day to sleep at home, to me, I don't know, Tim.
One more day to sleep at home, while the rest of our neighbors, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, are nation building.
But you know what? On the better side, I mean, Gambia, is it Gambia? They have a 3-day working week. Weekend starts from Thursday. I wonder how things happen.
They're building the nation in their own right, Brand.
Yeah. I'm happy for the news. I mean, who doesn't want a rest?
Who wouldn't want a holiday?
I don't want too many holidays, man.
We've had far too many holidays.
I wouldn't mind the holidays. Like him, have not read the judgment.
The judgment, yeah.
But I've had excerpts of the judgment.
Yeah.
And one of the reasoning behind the order was that it was unconstitutional to scrap it. That the second president of Kenya should have been commemorated. It is the only. I mean, it was there.
Yeah. And
perhaps it was a political way to just do away with the memory, but I think there's some things you can't do away with. It's just funny. It would seem that it is an indirect repeal or amendment of the Constitution, but then again, the Constitution allows for the Parliament and to prescribe for public holidays, and we've seen the CS for internal security, the acting CS, issuing orders for public holidays. So I think it shouldn't be an amendment per se, but it would be good to look at it from that angle.
Okay.
I think once I read it, I'll be looking at it whether it amounts to an amendment.
Well, the fashion, an amendment, yes, but also the fashion in which this day, by the way, let's just take some time and look at this judgment. But what hasn't been very clear is the fashion in which this day should be commemorated is subject to confirmation. Whether we're going to have pomp, a speech by the current administration or the president at that time, let's say next year.
What is it going to be called, Tim? Is it going to be called Moi Day?
It is Moi Day,
Because even the 20th is no longer called Kenyatta Day.
It's Mashujaa.
It's Mashujaa Day.
Yes.
You know, the Tim, that opens the Pandora's box. Now,
speaking of a Pandora's box, I'm bringing you to another one. But yeah,
what happens now when President Uhuru has finished up his term, and somebody petitions the court and says, "Hey, look, he was the 3rd president of the Republic of Kenya. So do we also celebrate the 26th of October as a national holiday?"
Oh, his birthday.
Or what does that judgment in essence mean?
Today.
Does it mean that we have to dedicate a special day for all our leaders? You know, our retired presidents will have a dedicated day.
Let's look at Kenya like 50 years from now.
Yeah.
Divided by 5, no, divided by 10. Those are how many leaders?
5.
That's 5.
5 more leaders.
Yeah.
We've had 4 more. We've had 4 presidents.
Yeah.
So we'll have 9 days in the year, in the calendar, celebrating our presidents.
Yeah. What I would have, and again, this is basically very pedestrian. What I would have thought the court would have done was to declare something almost like a Leaders' Day. Leaders'
Day, President's Day.
Yeah, or the President's Day. You know, dedicate one particular day in which we celebrate those people who have occupied the position of the president. And you shut that door closed if we need it, and if that is what is contemplated by, you know, the fashion and the manner in which that day is going to be celebrated, then that is fine. But if it's not that, then I mean, I look forward to another petition being filed by somebody who is closely affiliated to President Kenyatta.
Retired President Daniel Toroitich right now must be laughing or even smiling, more than just laughing, smiling and saying, hey, you know what, these people still recognize that I'm back.
With a bang.
With a bang. Yeah, so it gives him more life.
Something out of, perhaps not connected, but I think it might have some relevance, linking Moi Day with Gideon Moi.
Oh.
And the fact that is an upcoming
of course,
contender of
politicians will milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah,
that's good leverage for Gideon.
For me, I think I'm looking at it from that angle, and from the angle of Moi, I think it is worth it. For Charles Fear, I mean, I would say for all the other leaders now that come, we can have a Leaders' Day for them.
But a Leaders' Day, but for Moi Day...
no, let us have Moi Day.
Moi
so that it's Moi and
he gets
the
a
others.
day.
Oh, wow. We're talking about Moi Day being back. Anyway, share your thoughts with me. I would like to hear what you think and feel about this day that has been put back in your calendar. But Charles has talked about a Pandora's box. And from what I see, this court case, the petition, is actually a Pandora's box in a way. I'll say it this way. I also want to just hold an opinion. Maraga has quite a big task this time round. He opened a huge, a ton load of conversation, and people are talking about, you know, a whole cycle of things to come and things to go. This is how and why. Nullifying the elections in September the 1st, and now getting back to that court case right now means anything can happen. Either we go back to elections or uphold Uhuru's victory. Now, I want to hear it from these two gentlemen, whether I am making sense when I say that that could just be a Pandora's box, where Mr. Maraga, Justice David Maraga, he has a big task. Out of the three happen to be Wafula Chebukati, the IG, the Inspector General, Boynet, and CJ Maraga. But the person who has the biggest job right now is CJ Maraga. We will find out why, but I want to find out from you why.
If you ask me, I wouldn't say Justice Maraga has the biggest task so far, because the work of the judges in the Supreme Court really is to interpret the law and to apply the law to evidence that they have been supplied with. The biggest work is on the petitioners, because whereas Justice Maraga said, you know, bring back a petition in the event a free, fair, and credible election is not held, we will annul it one more time. The onus is on the petitioners. The burden of proof, the evidentiary burden, is on the petitioners. That's the first thing. And that evidentiary burden must meet the standard threshold that has been set by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why the Supreme Court nullified the previous election is that they found from the evidence that was supplied to it that it was difficult to tell whether a free, fair, and credible election was held. Now, are these people, the petitioners, seized of that kind of evidence, that magnitude of evidence? And Tim, one of the things that I see doing rounds in the media, and especially social media, are the statements of the chairman of IEBC a while back, that as at the point when he was speaking, he was saying he can't hold a credible election with a divided commission, you know. And that is probably one of the things that you're going to see cropping up in the petition. But the bottom line is, what is the evidence that is presented to the Supreme Court?
Brian, this could just be a prolonged crisis in a way. Last time we ended up spending 12 billion Kenya shillings. Yeah. And now CJ has to come back, CJ Maraga has to come back and see whether we're going to spend another 12 billion Kenya shillings. I mean, what's in your mind?
I think as a country we are in a very interesting time in history. Immediately after the release of the summary orders, I found myself writing sort of a paper on what this meant. And I remember myself saying that this could mean that Uhuru's one term could be from 2013 to 2022. If nothing happens in between here to resolve this confusion that we are in. If these cases are anything...
One term for
10 years.
One term for 10 years, and then he can seek re-election.
Yeah, he can seek re-election, because it's swearing in to swearing in.
Yes.
So if the swearing in prolongs for 10 years, according to 142,
yes,
that is one term of the office of the president.
So, wow, you have raised something very interesting here, and this is where I take a back seat. So if Maraga decides that we are going into elections next year, it means Uhuru Kenyatta will be sworn in sometime in February.
Yeah.
If that is challenged one more time, we could go again into, maybe he drops the hammer and says, you know what, this is it. I do not want to hear anything from you people. We've been going on and on and on for the last 1.5 years. Let's say Uhuru Kenyatta gets sworn in sometime in April, May next year. That means he has another 5-year term, not 2022. It might be, what, 2023? Something like that?
No, it will not
be. I mean,
the reason I don't agree with Brian, it's because that in my opinion, is selective reading of the Constitution. Article 142 basically protects the institution of the presidency once a person is sworn in. Now, do not forget that the same Constitution makes provisions under Article 81, 82, and all these other articles, yeah, speaking about elections, that an election would be held every 5 years. Every 5 years.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is contemplated that after every 5 years, you're going to hold a general election for election of the president and, of course, all the other members.
Yeah.
Now, the same Constitution provides that if you contest that election, you can go back to the Supreme Court for a determination, right? Now, once you go back to the Supreme Court, the same Constitution provides that a re-election would be done within 60 days after the determination of the election petition. Now, if the Supreme Court annuls this election one more time, what does that mean for us?
It means we get back to elections
as a country,
yeah,
you know. And now that is probably one of the ping pongs that one of the backhands that we have not yet seen, because the Constitution contemplates you going back to the Supreme Court on an initial election, and then the Supreme Court orders for a re-election, right? Now, if that re-election was also not conducted in a proper manner, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that circumstance legally?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you go back for another? Does it now revert back to another re-election? Do you go back to an election, a fresh election, and something like that? Because that Article 142 cannot be read in isolation.
That's right.
That Article 142 must be read with how do you get that presidential mandate? So you get from the mandate to the office of the president. And therefore we need to look around those other provisions of the Constitution in regards to conducting of elections.
Brian.
Yeah.
Brian. I want to know, Maraga would want to protect himself in a way that he doesn't come out as a bad person. Recently, he's been accused, or he's been called names, and just to quote here, his institution has been called the fake court, the Bandia court. Uhuru Kenyatta retorting the other day, immediately after the ruling, September the 2nd, I think, when he came out in Burma, you remember what he said. He called Maraga names. Now, do you think this time around he's going to act knowing that such reactions from different quarters will emanate in case of a ruling similar to what he made last time?
Well, I think it's going back to the question of whether it's opening up a Pandora box. I think Maraga is actually in intense pressure, in a sense, than what Charles is saying, that it's about the petitioners. For argument's sake, if the petitioners present the evidence, now the question before Maraga would be whether to abide by the law, the strict interpretation of the law, or interpret the law wholesomely, taking into consideration political views, economic views, and such aspects. Now, if faced with that, and I would think that perhaps the Supreme Court and Justice Maraga is maybe second-guessing himself. At the moment, I am second-guessing the judgment. I was happy about the judgment for the sake of the rule of law. But at the moment, I am second-guessing it from various aspects, like the timelines that were given, were they reasonable, given the huge evidence that was presented, and two, the technical aspects that were present before the court. Was the court equipped to handle the technical aspects of the case? So I would think, looking at such things, the court might look for creative ways, and I think our courts have not lacked in creativity.
Creative ways.
Yeah.
When you talk about creative ways, gentlemen, this is what comes to mind: quorum. Quorum. Am I?
No, you're not.
Hang on a second. Am I putting something in someone's mind?
We live in interesting times. that is what I would say.
He's talked about creative, so I'm thinking creatively here. Quorum.
We live in interesting times.
No,
Tim.
you know what I mean. I mean,
Tim, that's one way of being creative, and I mean,
October
so far
25th.
it has worked miracles, and
I honestly don't think Justice Maraga is in a fix, because Justice Maraga's mandate, first of all, emanates from the Constitution. That office is a constitutional office. Now, it is a separate office and entity altogether. Whereas it's an arm of the government. It's an independent arm of the government. Now, when the president goes out there and says, that, you know, the fake judges, they were called Wakorawane, they were called all these other names. Whereas it dents the image of the court in the eyes of the public. And that is probably why a position where you'd want to think the president would have handled that situation differently. It does not take away the independence of the judiciary.
So, but
now, what you saw Justice Maraga do, and the other judges who held that the elections were not properly conducted, was judicial bravery. You know?
For September 1st or for October 25th?
For September 1st.
Okay.
That was judicial bravery.
I'm about to go to October 25th because he's brought about the element of creativity.
What you'd want to believe, Tim, and what I would want to believe as a legal practitioner, is that the law would be applied to evidence.
Okay.
If evidence points towards a flawed election, have no problem with nullifying the election one more time.
But the curtain call here would be when all judges come to a vote.
Yes.
Yeah, and say, right, I may not know so much about the proceedings. I'm just a commentator here.
Yeah.
But I also want to look at it from that perspective where the CJ is there. He's expected to be with his colleagues, 4 of them?
Yeah.
Is it 5 of them? Yeah, and now the creativity starts popping in. We've looked at September 1st, but we've also seen events around the Supreme Court, like the events on what, the October 25th, just a day before the elections, where the elections were definitely going to go ahead after the CJ said that he lacks quorum. You remember at that time, Philomena Mwilu her car had been attacked and her bodyguard injured. Smoking Wanjala, where was he? He was away on a holiday or something like that. Njoki Ndungu couldn't find a flight from where she was to this to the corridors of justice. And then we've got Ibrahim, who's not feeling well. So how creative is this going to be this time round, seeing that September 1st had half saying this, half saying the other, and Maraga saying, you know what, this is based on what has been presented, I am going to nullify these elections.
You want to imagine that probably the notice that was given to the judges on October 25th was probably slightly short.
Short notice.
And also, Tim, with the background that petitions were being filed almost on a daily basis in the Supreme Court. Some were not meeting the threshold, some met the threshold and were warranted hearing and stuff like that. So it's not you can't isolate that situation that the judges were not there to hear that the petition that had been filed in the Supreme Court on its own. You have to look at the surrounding circumstances. But what I know is the Constitution provides that if you have a problem with the election of a president, you file a presidential petition in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
There are timelines within that presidential petition must be determined. There's a set quorum within which the petitions must be determined. Now, the judges have a legal duty to be present to hear and determine that petition. Save for force majeure circumstances where now you can't, they're unforeseen and whatever circumstances, the judges must appear for work.
I would think, I would not look at it from the creative angle, although, I mean, that angle is always available to look at it from that point. But I could say that based on what he said, short notice, it could also be a coincidence where all these things met, and perhaps this is the implementation of Murphy's Law, that when something bad is supposed to happen, then everything will just come together to ensure that that bad thing happens. So if 25th October, the ruling was not to happen, all these events came together and it didn't happen. So I would look at it from a point of some bad luck coincidence. But I mean, from the hindsight, I'm looking at it I'm also not taking away the creative aspect of it, but I'll be looking forward to the creativity in the
creativity in the Supreme Court. Okay, right. I want to take a break very quickly. I'll give you the health tip. When we come back, I'll speak with these two gentlemen about that Ford Kenya win in Kitutu Chache South constituency, where Ford Kenya's Richard Onyonka got his win following that re-election right there. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Sit back, relax. We will be coming back with that and much more. Right.